It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the best show that you'll ever know. It's the Dep Lewis Show, and it's episode 50. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, September 24th, 2023. A wonderful day to talk about video games and much more. So welcome to the show. Hope you've been doing well out there in the universe. Hope you had a great week of video gaming. Hope you had a great week of work. Maybe you had some vacation as well. Hope you had a great time doing that. Hope you made a lot of money. I hope you hit the lottery. I hope you bought some new video games. And I hope you will enjoy this entire Dep Lewis Show, episode 50, because that's what you got in store. So let's get down to some business. If you'd like to support the show even further than you already do by listening right now, please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review. Turn on notifications, tell a friend. Email any questions or feedback you have to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. So basically anywhere podcasts are available. Clips are on YouTube and TikTok. Please go check those out. You can see some gameplay footage along with audio from the podcast. So it's tingling all your senses. Get your ears going, get your eyes going. Seeing some cool games. It's pretty awesome. That's what the Dep Lewis Show is here for. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is also a great place to follow. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the ultimate place to support. So if you'd like to go to Patreon.com/DepLewisShow, please do. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. So welcome. That is the main thing to say here. Welcome to the show. This is a traditional Dep Lewis Show. We have the three sections. We have the What I've Been Playing section to start it off. We have the What I've Been Seeing section. The mid section is the middle section, where I talk about what I've been seeing across the video game landscape, the video game universe. And the third section is the Miscellaneous talk section, where I can talk about anything I want to outside of video games. So we have a great show for you today. The first section, we have a couple games to talk about. The middle section this week, with the mid, we have some releases, we have some DLC, we have some release dates, we have some other news, so it's going to be pretty interesting. And then the Miscellaneous talk section today is looking like sports. So just want you to be aware of what's going on today. So that is the plan. So let's get it started. So let's talk about some notes from last show. I don't have anything necessarily I want to correct. I just want to tell myself here at the beginning of the podcast to, watch my ands and my ums and the mic noises and do better at this and slow down in general. It's probably good advice. So I'm just going to say that here to hopefully stick in my brain while I record this podcast and try to give you the best audio experience I can, alongside giving you video game information. So that is the goal here. All right, so let's get into it. So what I've been playing, section 1 of this show. Been playing a couple games this week, and the main one I want to talk about is a game called Sea of Stars. So I've really been enjoying this game. It's been the newest game I've purchased, so I've been enjoying that about it. So the second game has been the one I've been playing the most this week, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But Sea of Stars has been really fun. I bought this on Nintendo Switch. It's like a retro-inspired turn-based RPG game. I'm really enjoying the music. I'm really getting into the combat at this point and understanding it a little bit. I've had to look up some guides on this game, as I do for most games, to figure out how to beat some of these things. But the combat is actually very fun. There's a bunch of different options, and it's fun when you get to fight these guys in this game. So that is a great plus for me, because the whole, the rest of this game is very cool. The setting's cool. The characters are neat. They're neat, I said. The music's really good. Just all the trappings of this game are very fun, and it's very relaxing and enjoyable to play, and has a good enough story, and the characters are interesting enough, and it's definitely more on the lighthearted side as far as like tones go. But I think it's a really fun game so far. So I'm a couple hours in on this. I've looked it up. I believe this game is about 30 hours long, so that's pretty long. And I guess not for an RPG, but just from my view of this top-down style game, it seems like a long thing. But I'm gonna try to figure it out. So I've been deciding. Excuse me. I've been deciding to start considering that some more when starting these games, of checking out the how long it is to beat them, and really consider that. So if a game's saying 80 hours, it's most likely I'm not going to complete that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more later about I'm trying to need to get into a groove of completing something. So I'm gonna start small and work my way up as my plan. So I don't know, Sea of Stars, I'm going through it right now. Been having a lot of fun with it. I beat the boss slug. I can't believe that. I've done a lot of things this week in Sea of Stars I'm going to tell you about. So I beat the boss slug. I did it on my first try after equipping my item, so that was a pretty big key. I think I equipped something to, no, I don't even know his name, Valerie, Zale, maybe Zale. Every gift begins with K. Zales, isn't that a store too? I don't know, but I gave him a item. There's an item you pick up in the caves, and it really helps out in that battle. Was one of the main things. But you also learn some more fight mechanics as the game goes on, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But so that was the first boss of the game. So when I was talking about this, when I was writing these notes, I was saying I'm a big fan of Valerie. That's her name. Her Moonerang. I think that's one of the coolest weapons in this game. It's a boomerang, obviously, so you can get multiple hits with it. So it bounces back to you every time, and you have to hit A with Valerie to swipe it away. So it's a game of having to hit keep your boomerang going, and you can get it going for a really long time. And if you do mess up early, you feel like a giant noob because you can really get some long strings of returning it back to them, and you can hit multiple enemies, or you can just keep hitting the same enemy if there's only one. So it's very useful. It's one of my favorite things to do. One of my favorite attacks in this game for sure because it's so versatile. So after I beat the boss slug, you get into the Elder Mist trials, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's a whole change of scenery. It's more like up in the clouds. It's a little more dreamlike. And I was fighting the Elder Mist, and I was struggling with the Elder Mist. It was a giant character on screen, and you get kind of thrown into the battle after you complete these 3 trials that are teaching you how to use how to accumulate mana, basically. So you can do a normal attack. If you do so, it leaves some orbs on the ground, and the next character can pick these orbs up to enhance their attack. So it allows you to do some magical damage on a physical attack. So it's pretty nice, and it adds another an element in here that you're waiting for. So you're waiting. You have to plan for these things in these battles. So that is pretty fun, and that's been interesting so far, and I've enjoyed that. So Elder Mist, I had to look at some strats on him. So the light spoilers with this if you're playing Sea of Stars, but I'm just going to kind of talk about what I want to. But there are 2 parts to Elder Mist. He looks like he's one character, but his sword is actually another character, or another enemy. So I'll just say that pretty much for this. Just take that into account. Focus on the sword more so first, and then the enemy, and then take care of him. There's going to be a lot of rounds of that, and eventually, if you're strong enough, and brave enough, and tough enough, you'll get to the end of that battle, and you'll be happy. So I defeated the Elder Mist, and he determines that I am able to go on and continue my adventure. So I was feeling a little bit like I was playing Elden Ring here, or Armored Core, fighting this boss, but I was very glad to beat him, so that was awesome. So the boss slug, he was my first stop at difficulty, and then the Elder Mist has been the second one. So, and this is another caveat. I can't remember if I did this before the Elder Mist battle, and it would be really convenient if I did, but I don't think I did. But you can turn on, there's relics in the menu, so you can turn on these relics on the item menu, and they allow you to change the game in different ways. So I've turned both of them on. One makes the game easier, so it's like storyteller mode, so you get some more health, or you can regenerate. You get some more health, and then you get your health back after battle. So that is one of the perks of that. And then there's actually another one I turned on, but I can't remember what it was for me at this point. But those are pretty cool, and I wonder if I'll get some more. And they seem like ways to make the game a little bit easier. So I actually do remember now. So I did defeat the Elder Mist straight up, and then when I got to this next level, it's like a desert area. So after you beat the Elder Mist, he says, hey, you're able to go, continue your journey. And this big giant, really, like I'm talking literally, a giant throws you into another giant, and he brings you to another world. So you pull up to this new world, and that is when I figured out I could turn those relics on. So I started battling in this area and was immediately getting whooped. So I saved after that point. So I have a whole new area to explore. It's kind of deserty. The open world music changes, and it's pretty cool. So really, really great start to this game, Sea of Stars. A couple hours in, like I said, and I want to keep going with this. It's very relaxing to play. I like the music. I've been trying to, get into some RPGs more so. I think it's an untapped market for games I might like, and games I enjoy playing at this point in my life. And I like that I can play this on the Switch and play it in handheld, and that's what I've been doing. The weather's been a little bit nicer, so I've been playing on the porch and having some headphones in, and that makes for a great, outstanding time. So let's see what else I have to say about the Sea of Stars. Yeah, I got thrown to the next area. It was very cool. Different open world music, so I'm interested to see all the different music from the different areas in this game. That's going to be really cool. And I was having some difficulty in this area, so I hit the save. I had already accomplished some things, so I wasn't ready to press forward, so I hit the save, and I'm in the desert land, and some of those enemies here were hard, or they were piling up. There's these slugs that go through the ground, and they pop up, and they can multiply, so those were giving me some grief, so I'm just going to kind of take this game slow. I'm going to look up some strategies when I need to, and I'm going to ultimately just try to enjoy it. So Sea of Stars has been a great game. I think it has some potential for a Game of the Year list. I have a lot of games on the games I've played this year, and probably a handful stand out. So a lot to consider here going to the end of the year. I've been thinking about my game playing. I kind of wish I haven't played as many different games and just played some more of the games, more of less. And that's what I'm going to be going towards here in the future, trying to be more selective. But, I also do like trying these new things. So I got to find the balance there. But Sea of Stars has been very fun. And it's out on more platforms than Switch. So you can go play that game it's on Game Pass. So that's a nice thing. And I believe it's on, any other console you want to play on. So go check it out. I think it was $34.99. Sea of Stars. Been really fun. So Dep Lewis Show, stamp of approval. Last show I was talking about my recommendation, or hype level for playing games. So it's like definite, maybe, or definite mid, definite maybe, possible, and no. I think it was something like that. I need to go back and listen and write those down, because I was wanting to stick to those. But I'm not talking about games coming out. I'm talking about games I'm playing in this section. So the next game has really been the one I've been playing the most, and it's tough to say this is a 2022 game. It was number 2 game of the year for the Dep Lewis Show in 2022, and that is Vampire Survivors. I've been playing the Nintendo Switch version of this. So the Nintendo Switch version, did come out just a couple months ago and has been the best version for me. This has been one of the best handheld games I've played. I've been having so much fun with it. I think I'm over the 20-hour mark on the Nintendo Switch for gameplay. For playtime. So really, really getting into this, and it's been great to play and watch TV or play and listen to a podcast. So it's been really filling that niche for me, or that niche, however you want to pronounce that word. So Vampire Survivors, I've said it a million times on the show. It's an excellent game. It's very simple, but there's a lot of layers to it. And I want to talk about some of those layers today. So let's talk about some of my favorite characters from this game. So there's a whole bunch of characters you can unlock in this game. I probably have 20 characters, and I want to talk about the few that I use mostly and that I've been using early on, and I'm really trying to, check out some levels and complete some levels. So for these characters, I've been trying to, go through and complete as many levels as I can, and I've been unlocking a whole bunch of new stuff. So let's get into it. So the first character you start with, Mr. Antonio Belpezzi. He is still one of my favorites, and I think it's kind of like Ryu from Street Fighter. The first guy you get introduced to, you just feel comfortable with, and you grow a liking to. So Antonio has the whip to start, which is a very cool weapon. I definitely like using the whip in my other builds with my other characters, so that's a perk that you can start with it here. And then Antonio, we're going to talk about some weapon evolutions later on, but we're going to talk about the characters right now. So Antonio starts with plus 20 max health and plus 1 armor. He gains plus 10 might every 10 levels until level 50. The maximum might gain this way is plus 50%. So, I see these descriptors in the game all the time, and I kind of just pick the character and just kind of flow with it. So it was nice to type these out and, present them to you on the podcast here. So hopefully I can remember them and know a little more about them as well. So Antonio, he's got the whip. He starts with some extra health and extra armor, and then he's gaining might every level. So I didn't look up what might does, but I'm guessing I should probably do that next time. But it has to do something with power or strength or something like that. But Antonio is a great character. The whip is really strong to start with, and I recommend Mr. Antonio Belpezzi. So another character I like playing is Imelda Belpezzi. She starts with the magic wand, so that is a really great starting weapon. And you need to match that one up with the empty tome is your plan. But Imelda, she gains plus 10% growth every 5 levels until level 15. So I don't know exactly what growth does, so that's something I need to further my Vampire Survivors knowledge, but the maximum growth gain this way is plus 30%. So that is the benefit to using her, and you get to start with the magic wand. The magic wand is something all these characters that I like to play start with weapons that I like to use regardless, so I guess that is why they're on this list. So the next character, he's more of a recent one that I've been using, is Mr. Gennaro Belpezzi, and he starts with the knife. He starts with plus 20 max health and plus 1. I wrote amount, so I wonder if that's true. I wonder if it's armor, but it could be plus 1 amount. But I do not know what these things are doing, and I'm only going to talk about a couple more characters, but there's probably like 15 more characters, so I need to learn what some of these keywords mean in this game would possibly help me. But either way, you're just picking the character and doing what they do. Is kind of what I do. So a lot of do's in there, but that's what I be doing. So the other character I like to play is Arca Ladonna. So this character is a little bit slow to start out with, but I actually boost this character up with the little boots. I did that once, but I don't know the evolution for the boots, so that was not ideal. But Mr. Arca, he starts with the fire wand, which is awesome. That's one of my favorite weapons. You match that up with the spinach, and you shoot these giant fireballs when you evolve it all the way. So that's definitely one of my favorite weapon evolutions. But Arca, he starts with 10% might. He also gains negative 5% cooldown every 10 levels until level 30. The maximum cooldown reduction gain this way is minus 15%. The last character that I want to talk about that's one of my favorites right now is Clarica, or Clarice, or her full name is Suor Clarice. I don't know, but Clarice, she starts with the Santa water. It starts with 0.5 recovery and plus 50 max health. It also has plus 400% area. However, the area bonus depreciates by 100% each level until the bonus is entirely gone at level 5. So that was pretty striking when I played her, was her area bonus really is if you pick up the axe and the character's throwing axes to hit the enemies, the axes are giant in the beginning of her run. So I was hoping that would continue, but it actually depreciates like it says, and then it's gone at level 5. So it gives you like an early jump, I guess, on killing some enemies and grabbing your gems and leveling. So I guess that's a nice perk of it. And starting with the Santa water is pretty cool. It's just not a direct fire weapon, but it's definitely a weapon I like to get in my build. But it's just a little tricky at the beginning, but I guess it's nice. They give you that big area. I guess that's the trade-off with I'm going to call her Clarice, because it's definitely Clarice, but Clarice does not sound right, so I don't know, but hopefully you can figure out who I'm talking about. So those are the main characters I'm using. I just unlocked a character that is a dog, which has a weapon that I'm not familiar with, so I'm definitely going to be trying that character out, because the Dep Lewis Show, the official animal of the Dep Lewis Show are dogs, because they're awesome. So I'm definitely going to try that character out and play some more Vampire Survivors this week. And let's talk about, hey, there's still more to talk about. Let's talk about the weapon evolutions I like. So in this game, you can, you're picking up weapons on the map. Every time you level up, you can pick a different weapon upgrade. And if you pick 2 of these weapons at the same time, they can combine to create a greater weapon, a weapon evolution. So I feel like that's one of the main things I'm focusing on during my run is checking my grimoire and making sure I'm picking up things that will match, and looking at the map. And if you can sometimes see that there's spinach on the map, you definitely want to grab the fire wand. And then I definitely start leveling the fire wand more early, even if I don't have the spinach yet. If I can see the spinach on the map, I know it's there. I'll be like, hey, this is a weapon I need to start focusing on. So I'll start putting some points into that. And it looks like now I can carry 12 items. I'm able to match up 6 evolutions if possible. And I just did that on my last run. I don't know if I was really misremembering or not seeing it, or just too into it, but I really do think I'm up to 6 matches now. I think that's an upgrade I somehow got, because I believe at the beginning you start with 10 slots and you can do 5 evolutions. So pretty cool. It seems like there's definitely more stuff that opens up in this game that I haven't seen yet, so I'm excited about that, and it just continues to be interesting. But let's talk about my favorite weapon evolutions. So we're just going to go down this list here. It's a short list. There's obviously more weapons. There's more weapons I haven't unlocked. There's more combinations I haven't tried, but these are the tried and true Dep Lewis Show weapon evolutions that are preferred in Vampire Survivors. So big fan of the whip and the hollow heart. It gets you the bloody tear. That's definitely one I try for almost every time. Another one I try for almost every time is the fire wand plus spinach. It gets you the hellfire. Shoots those giant fireballs. The other one is Magic Wand plus the Empty Tome. I would generally go Fire Wand over the Magic Wand, but I do like to have both of them because they're just both really effective. And they create the Holy Wand if you get the evolution. The Santa Water and the Attracto Orb is, if you put those together, you can evolve them to the Labora. They're pretty interesting because the Santa Water has a pretty good range to it, and the Attracto Orb is just always kind of helpful with getting gems and leveling up. So I think that one's a great one to put in there. That's not like a direct attack one, but it's very useful. The Axe plus the Candelabra. I don't know if that's like, I know the word candelabra and candle, but I think this is a made up word, the Candelabrador, and then it will evolve into the Death Spiral. So the Axe does really great damage. It shoots kind of up above your head, and it is really effective. I feel like it's one of the more high damage weapons that I pick up, or at least I feel that way when I use it. Another evolution is the Garlic plus Pumarola. Hope I'm saying that right, but it's the heart that gives you some health back over time, and those evolve to the Soul Eater. Garlic is I guess that's my OG favorite weapon. I would always pick it just early on, even when I would play this game without focusing on the weapon evolutions. I would just pick weapons I think are cool, and I would always pick the Garlic first because it's a great way to create some space between you and the enemy, and it's fun to bump into them and see the gems pop up, and just a great way to do it. So this is another one that I guess it's more of a direct attack, but the knock I heard on Garlic is it's good early on in your run and not as effective later on. But I had a run last night where I hadn't upgraded it to the Soul Eater, and it was very effective. So I think it just kind of depends on the other items you have and if you've been able to evolve them or where you're at. So Garlic is usually, I'm never sad taking the Garlic. It's always good to me if I can take it. And the last combination I'm a big fan of is the Knife and the Bracer, and that gives you the 1,000-edge sword or 1,000-edge knives or whatever. So knives coming out with no hesitation and just in the direction you're facing, so that's pretty useful too. And so I really like using those. So just some Vampire Survivors deep dive there. But a very fun game. I think it's getting the de facto 11th slot on my Game of the Year list, or whatever the last game I rank. I think it's just going to be the last honorable mention on there, since it is new to the Switch this year and I've been playing more of it than I have before, I would say. So Vampire Survivors, please go play it. I also got some new Joy-Cons this week. I got the pink and yellow Joy-Cons. They have those new pastel Joy-Cons that released not too long ago. There's a purple and a green, and there's a pink and a yellow, so I ordered the pink and yellow. They're actually a little bit on sale on Amazon, which was nice, and I've been really enjoying those. They make my give my OLED console some pizzazz. I just had the white Joy-Cons that came with the OLED, so now I'm looking colorful over here, and it's very cool and really helping out my handheld gaming. So my Nintendo Switch is a great console right now. I love the Nintendo Switch. Very awesome, and been having a lot of fun with those two games on there. So the last game I want to talk a little bit about is a big release that came out early September, and it is Starfield. So I had a couple heavy weeks playing Starfield. I didn't play so much in the past week, but I did play some yesterday. Actually, I had a pretty decent session with it. I finished a space combat mission. There was a 2-part space combat mission, and I had completed the first part, and I'd saved in between there, so I got back and finished that. I actually died a couple times trying this, but was able to just figure out the combat. You just kind of have to move around a little more is what I learned, and use your missiles and your lasers and hit those guys, and then make sure you loot them. And so after I did that space combat mission, I pulled up to this planet, and there was a planet being invaded by invading spacers, and there were seriously 30 of these guys. So I murked them all with my pistol and helping my friend, looted all their corpses, took all their credits and all that kind of stuff, and kept that mission moving. And I think I just have to go to a new planet now, but it was a pretty cool end of that mission. I was helping out these characters. They were very thankful. They were saying they don't know if they would have done that for me, and they paid me some credits, and it was a good mission. And I've been having fun with Starfield. I don't know how much of it I'm going to play. My notes here, I say this game may be too long and overwhelming for me. I've been considering my gaming habits lately, and this may just be, this may be an impossible feat for me at this point to try to tackle Starfield. I looked up how long it is to beat this game, and I think if you mainline the story, it can be more around the 20-hour mark, but it immediately says if you're trying to complete or see everything, it's easily over 100 hours. So that's pretty intimidating. where I'm trying to play some different games. I like playing a lot of small games, and these story games I do start. I need to start. I need to start completing some of them so I can see the end of some of these things. So I need to start most likely with a shorter game is probably the smart move. So I'm just kind of mulling those over in my mind. But Starfield has been pretty fun. I've heard people argue that the missions are kind of just bland and boring, and maybe I agree with that a little bit. They're a little bit. No, the characters aren't that interesting, and neither are the missions. So I think they're okay. I think some of the stuff, like more like the gunplay and just the traversing the world, is more fun in this game. But that's going to require a little more of your own like gusto of just traveling around and exploring, instead of having like a main story kind of gripping you through this game. So I don't know. I'm into Starfield. I definitely want to play some more of it. I just kind of probably play it more sporadically at this point, with pretty low commitment, because it seems like there's I have 90 missions in there that I can choose from to go play, between the story and the side missions and the factions and other things that I haven't even signed up for yet. So. And then the other question is a lot of that stuff even worth it? I don't know. So still interested in all the Starfield discourse and playing it some myself, and need to hear the great Sanfi's thoughts on it. I think he's put a good bit of time into it. I don't know if he's still continuing with it or not, but I need to talk to him and see what he's thinking about it too. And I'll definitely keep you updated on my thoughts on it as well. So those have been the 3 games I've been playing this week. Been Sea of Stars, Vampire Survivors, and Starfield. Been playing a lot of the Vampire Survivors, and just kind of getting into Sea of Stars and really enjoying that. So you'll probably hear some more about those in the future. So that's going to wrap up the first section of this show, and we're going to come back for the mid section. We're going to talk about what I've been seeing across the video game landscape, so some video game news, those types of things, whatever I thought was interesting that I saw during the week and want to talk about. So you don't want to miss it. So you're going to hear some lovely music, and then please come back in just a few for the mid section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 50. Welcome back to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 50. This is the mid section where I talk about what I've been seeing across the video game universe, the video game landscape, all the video game happenings and news and releases and things like that. And the first thing I want to talk about is a release. So there was a game called Mortal Kombat 1 that was released. It was actually released on September 14th. If you paid the early access price or whatever that was, the digital upgrade version, or whatever it is that these games are doing these days. But the normal release for this was September 19th, 2023. And it does appear more games are doing this practice of, paying to play them early, like a week early. I think sports games have been doing this for a while. I feel like the industry has gone back and forth doing this. And, some games have done this at some times. Sports games have done it kind of mainly, and now other games are really, latching onto this. We saw Starfield do it. And I guess it's a good tactic because, I've been interested in or thought about paying some of these things, but it's just a little carrot on a string to give us as consumers to give them some extra money. So I think they're very good at getting us to give them their money. So it's just another one of those ingenious ways is how they would like us to look at it. But whatever, if you want to pay the extra money to play it early, certainly do so, and it's a cool option if you want to spend the cash. But if you waited till September 19th, you can play Mortal Kombat and buy the game. A normal release copy is $69.99, and it was released for PS5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series X and S, and Microsoft Windows. I want to go ahead and say that you should probably not purchase the Nintendo Switch version of this game. Every person I've heard talk about that version has talked about how poor it is. It's missing content. It's long load times. The game doesn't even run well. The graphics don't look great. The online is Nintendo's online plus a stripped down Mortal Kombat game. So if you can really avoid playing this on the Switch, I would say do so. Go play it on another console. I don't think it's worth the price tag. I think it's the same price. I don't know if it's $69 or $59.99, but people were saying, this game should definitely be in the $40 or $50 range instead, or, maybe even cheaper than that, or maybe just not release it if it's that poor of a state. But, please beware if you're buying the Switch version of this game. It seems seemingly very, very poor. And I haven't had to do, I just kind of follow my normal video game news of the week, and I've heard that consistently across the board of how bad of a thing that is. So, that's kind of that's not a great thing, but, whatever. It's just another thing that, they're putting it out. They had to know that it was some kind of terrible state like that. And, they're going to get some return on it, people buying it. So that's, whatever. Let's a loss for the home team here of the consumers, but whatever. Don't be wary of that Nintendo Switch version. But Mortal Kombat 1, it's a fighting game developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Brothers. So they actually ported that Switch version out to another studio, so I do know that. But you think NetherRealm would have had some eyes on it. This is the 12th installment in the Mortal Kombat series, serving as both the sequel to Mortal Kombat 11 and the series' second reboot following Mortal Kombat. So, this is kind of well, it's not kind of, it is a reboot. It's Mortal Kombat 1. Obviously, it's not the first Mortal Kombat, so they're trying to position and reboot their beloved franchise to, proceed in the future with this, new iteration. So, I listened to Nextlander talk about this. They were talking about how good the story is. MinMax was talking about that as well. They were saying how the cutscene graphics are impressive and the transition into the fight are great. So I've heard only kind of good things about the fighting and the gameplay and the story mode. So I've heard the story mode is really the highlight of this. And, I have experienced that in Mortal Kombat 11. I played a good bit of that. And I just don't know. I really bounced off Street Fighter 6 pretty quickly this year. I just don't know if I'm into fighting games as much as I was previously these days. So, I'm holding off a little bit on buying this. I've been a little bit tempted to buy it. I don't even know if I want to buy it for the story, because sometimes I just skip the cutscenes on that anyway. So I just don't know if it's for me. I do love some Mortal Kombat. It's one of my favorite fighting series of all time. I just don't know, how much I'm into the grind of the fighting games and learning the moves, and it takes some dedication. I'm really going through my gaming habits, like I'm talking about, and I love playing games. I just need to possibly have some smarter choices in what I'm trying to tackle. I'm most likely not going to stick with learning all the characters in Mortal Kombat and all the combos and all the moves, and really dedicating myself to that. I need something a little more flighty at this point to serve my video game needs. Is what I'm kind of feeling. So that's what I've been kind of thinking about lately. But Mortal Kombat 1, it looks like if you want some Mortal Kombat fighting, it looks like it's doing great. The graphics look really good. Mortal Kombat's a great game. It seems like the version besides the Switch is a great game. So if you want some Mortal Kombat, you can go buy that right now. Okay, another game that I haven't played too much. I'm not a huge fan of the first of the, I don't know whatever, let's just get into it. Cyberpunk 2077 has some DLC, and it's called Phantom Liberty. I was trying to say I haven't played too much of Cyberpunk. Obviously, it had one of the worst video game releases in history. It was a bad, really botched release, but a lot of people have said CD Projekt Red has done things to make this game. I think some people say this game is great now. So, it seems pretty safe to recommend Cyberpunk to people nowadays, especially. And then they're releasing this DLC, which seems pretty good too. So this DLC, well, it's actually coming out next week. So it's coming out, if you're listening in real time, this is the 24th of September. It's coming out on the 26th. I don't know if you can pay early access to play this right now. Maybe that's the case, but either way, September 26th, you can definitely play this for $29.99. Phantom Liberty is a new spy thriller adventure for Cyberpunk 2077. Return as a cyber-enhanced mercenary bee and embark on a high-stakes mission of espionage and intrigue. To save the NUS president in the dangerous district of Dogtown, you must forge alliances within a web of shattered loyalties and sinister political machinations. Do you have what it takes to survive? So I've heard that Keanu Reeves is in this. Obviously, he's in the base game. That's what I'm thinking of, the base game. But there's some more Keanu Reeves in the DLC. And then there's also some Idris Elba in the DLC. And there's a lot of Idris Elba. And there's a lot of scenes and combinations between those two, between Keanu and Idris. So that's pretty interesting. So this game, I have Cyberpunk. I bought it back in the day. I have a digital copy. It's something that I could play down the road. It's just another one of those games that's probably too big to tackle for me at this point, or too big to start. But it's very interesting and very cool that this DLC is coming out. I hope it sheds some more light on the Cyberpunk base game being more like the vision they wanted to initially release. So I think it's a pretty cool recommendation. I hope the DLC does well, and I hope CD Projekt Red is back on the good foot. So looking pretty cool. Okay, another game that we have seen some footage for this week. It got some new trailers and a release date, and that is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. This releases January 26, 2024 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Pre-orders for the game will include the Heroes Booster Pack to level up faster, and a special job set that includes the linebacker and tennis ace jobs. On this game follows Ichiban Kasuga, an unstoppable underdog who's no stranger to crawling up from rock bottom. and Kazuma Kiryu, a broken man facing down his last days. So I'm just kind of telling you some things about this game. You can experience one-of-a-kind combat with dynamic, fast-paced RPG battles, where the battlefield becomes your weapon and anything goes. Adapt your party skills to the situation with outlandish jobs and customizations to strategically subdue enemies with over-the-top moves. So they showed off a 10-minute story trailer shown off this week. Polygon's spoiler-free summary states, so yeah, this was a good little wrap-up. Ichiban Kasuga is offered the opportunity to find his mother, which means he must travel to Honolulu, Hawaii. Returning characters make an appearance. Ichiban will apparently be fighting sharks and giant squids, taking part in fun Hawaii activities like surfing, and expectedly will be getting into all kind of trouble with local gangs. So this is the sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon. They have changed the naming convention of this series to Like a Dragon now instead of Yakuza. So there are kind of like two main lines from what I understand. There is a game from the other line coming out, before this, I believe, but this is the next line in the Ichiban, the Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is now Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, is the sequel follow-up, but it's following Ichiban nonetheless. So, I played a good bit of Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's a very fun game, really like outlandish and wacky, and like they say, you're doing a lot of side things that are fun, and this game looks really great. The trailers are really, really amazing. It's kind of one of those things you might not want to watch if you want to play it, because the game does look so cool, and it's, I don't know, kind of just, if you've never seen anything about it, you should go watch it. And if you are interested in it, you should probably at least try it, would be my recommendation. So I don't know if I'll be playing this, but I'm definitely interested in it. I could definitely see myself going back to Yakuza Like a Dragon and playing some more of that before this, since I do own that. So that might be the move for me. But this game looks very cool. I know a lot of people are interested in it. There's a million Yakuza games, but this seemed like one, like kind of like a fan favorite of the different storylines going right now from my perspective. So, go check out some Ichiban. Very fun. So Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth comes to consoles on January 26, 2024 to start the new year. So another game coming early in the year for 2024 that is setting up to be, a great start to the year. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is just an interesting thing. So Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming to iPhone, which was announced. So Kojima Productions will release Death Stranding Director's Cut for iPhone 15 Pro later in 2023, the developer announced. So the iPhone 15 phone just got announced, and then Kojima Productions comes out with this statement as well. So they're saying this will run natively on the hardware. Supported devices will include the iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and all the iPads and Macs equipped with an M1 chip or later. So I think it's just an interesting benchmark that these things are coming to phone, mobile devices, and they're running natively on the hardware. Death Stranding is an open world action game in a post-apocalyptic setting, featuring the voice and likeness of Norman Reedus as the lead character. And I just wrote, new phones really are going to be able to run some stuff, and it's cool to see. I don't know if I'd want to play something on that small of a screen, but I've said obviously a few times in this podcast that I'm not a fan of that, but I was just trying to say that I'm a fan of technology and things progressing forward, and more options, and it's just a very interesting thing going on that Death Stranding is going to be running on a phone, and I think there's other games announced that are doing this as well. But Death Stranding is a PlayStation exclusive. It's a good looking game from the things I've seen, so it's just impressive. Just shouting that out, and very cool that you're going to be able to play video games anywhere you want to, and you already kind of can, but it's just going more and more and more. The video games are taking over, so very cool. Death Stranding Director's Cut coming to iPhone. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about has been I'm just going to kind of talk a quick summary of this. This has been a lot of stories. A lot of people have been talking about this week. There was a set of emails or attachments that were leaked through the FTC versus Microsoft case, and these weren't intended for the public, and it seems Microsoft had these attached to some type of document, unbeknownst to them, and it got uncovered this week that all these emails from Microsoft, like inner workings, came out, and so people have been diving through these emails. A lot of these go back to 2020. A lot of these are plans that haven't come to fruition, or things that have gotten delayed, or games that haven't actually happened, and things like that. So there's a lot of you're just seeing a lot of the meal before it was actually presented to you, kind of thing. So you're seeing a lot of inner workings. I don't really think there's anything way too salacious here. Microsoft is definitely not happy with this, because there's a lot of information getting leaked and probably ruining some like announcements and things like that, or that they would like to set up a little differently. But so I think that's probably the worst thing here happening for Microsoft. From my standpoint, is just some of their surprises getting ruined. But this stuff was fun to interesting to see nonetheless. So some of the details we got out of this, we got some details on the Xbox Series X all digital version, which looks to be coming next year. So it's not going to be any more impressive of hardware than the current Xbox Series X, but it's not going to have a disk drive and it's going to be slightly smaller. A lot of people were saying it looks like an Alexa device, but I think it's cool that they'll make a smaller one. Same price, no disk console, no disk drive. So a lot of people are going through the discussion of, are disk drives gone? Will the next console have a disk drive? Is the digital future already here? Blah, 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 but I can't really know. It definitely seems like things are going towards digital, and that's going to be the way things will happen one day. I don't think it's happening immediately. And, people talking about what's going to happen to GameStop, but it's going to be a more gradual thing than just overnight, but it's certainly going that way. And they're talking about another piece of information is they're planning to put their next console out in 2028. So that's following a pretty typical, I think it's like an 8-year cycle. And they've also said in some of these things that they don't plan to have like a refresh or like a pro. So another thing, some of these things aren't happening. Some of these things aren't true. And there's also things, these aren't all their emails. So we don't know all the plans and things that are going on. So you have to take all this with a grain of salt. But these are some of the things coming up in this case. So we've gotten the sort of confirmation that there's an Xbox Series X all digital version coming next year. We've got the note that the next console, the next gen will be 2028 is what they're planning for. And then what else do we have? We have Phil Spencer talking about buying Nintendo would be a career-defining moment. A lot of people have been talking about that and just kind of laughing at him a little bit, saying, of course, it would be a career-defining moment for anybody. And that's, that's Captain Obvious in the room, and true or whatever. But it was interesting to see how they were talking about Nintendo. They were basically saying Nintendo is probably not ever going to want to be bought, and they're sitting on a pile of cash and have no reason to. But Phil Spencer was talking about that he thinks that Nintendo's future is off their hardware. So that is a typical argument that Nintendo's on underpowered hardware, but that's kind of been their MO for a long time, and they've been successful. So I don't know if that's actually a problem or not, but it is a cool thought to think of, playing Mario on an Xbox Series X or a PS5. I mean, that's a fun thought. But then you also hear people argue that you don't want Microsoft buying Nintendo because you don't want everybody, you don't want one company making all the video games. So I don't know. It's just kind of inspires some discourse out here, seeing these emails. But these are high-level executives talking about things, and obviously they're going to kick the can around some of these things. You have to do it, I think, and it's not as obviously as I don't know. Obviously, man, that's the word of the podcast. Obviously, this is going to be a great podcast to take some notes on. But I don't know. I'm just rambling on this, but just interesting to see some high-level talks like this in the company and get the window in there. But I don't think Xbox is going to buy Nintendo, and I don't think it's funny that he was talking about it. I think you probably want to try to plan for these things to make them happen. That's how things happen in the world out there. You got to have a little bit of a plan or think about it or go out on a limb sometimes. So another thing from this that I didn't really realize was happening is they've kind of talked about an Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster. And I think, according to the document, it's already supposed to be out. So I don't know if it's still coming or not, but that'd be something I'd be interested in playing. I love the Elder Scrolls series, one of my favorite series of all time, and I'd definitely be interested in that. So, go check out the articles on this. There's tons of stuff. If you want to go read through it and, form your own opinion and just check out what's going on. It's some cool insight into a company. Obviously, Microsoft's not happy about it, and they're not happy to have some of their surprises ruined. So, it looks like next year we'll get that new console. It's not an upgrade in any way. It's just a different form. It's supposed to be the same price. And, just kind of talked about the highlights of the new console. Maybe next gen will be 2028. Is an all digital future coming sooner than we think? Is Xbox going to buy Nintendo? Is an Oblivion remaster coming? Are there going to be pro versions of any of these systems before 2028? I don't know. Seems like Sony has some rumors going on out there about that, and all just interesting speculation, and that is one of the things I like to do here on the Dep Lewis Show. So that's going to wrap up the midsection of the show today. We talked about Mortal Kombat 1 release. We talked about the Cyberpunk 2077 DLC release, upcoming Phantom Liberty. We talked about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth got a release date. We talked about Death Stranding, director's cut is coming to iPhone, the new iPhones at some point. And we talked about some of the Microsoft documents that got leaked to the FTC court case. So some of that information and speculation there and things from the news there. So that's what we talked about in the midsection. We have one more section of this show. It's the Miscellaneous Talk section. We're going to talk about some sports. That's how we're going to wrap the show up. So go take a break. Go reheat your coffee. Go pet your dog. Go put some laundry in. Go make a grocery list. Go take out the trash. And then come back and listen to the final section of this show in just a few. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 50. This is the Miscellaneous Talk section, and today we're going to talk about some sports. So, the official NFL team of the Dep Lewis Show, the Carolina Panthers, they played a game last week. I went to the game, and they did not win. There's some bad news on the Panthers front, so let's talk about it. So, first I want to say, I've been saying for 49 episodes, I think, that the Panthers should extend Brian Burns. And maybe I do not believe that anymore. So it took 50 episodes for me to come to this realization, but I think it's due to seeing the way the season has started. J.C. Horn is hurt. We lost Shaq Thompson in this game. Bryce Young is now out with his ankle injury for a couple weeks. The playmakers for the team haven't really been making any plays. We haven't had any explosive plays of any kind. I don't know if dropping the bag of money on Brian Burns' doorstep is the right move for this team because they might have more needs than just paying Brian Burns. So, I think Brian Burns should get a huge bag from elsewhere is now what I'm thinking. And it hurts me to say this, but I just don't know I don't think the Panthers are in a good spot here. So we're having some realism on this show today. So let's see. Like I said, maybe I don't believe they should extend Brian Burns anymore. Obviously, I'd be happy if they did, just in general, because I'm a little... I'm just a delusional fan kind of thing, and I would like him to get paid and still be a Panther. But for looking for a path to victory of like what the team needs to do as a whole to get better, I think there's just a lot more moves to be made. I think they need to find some receivers. It's been disappointing seeing the box scores after these games. So let's just talk about last week a little bit. So Monday night versus the Saints, it was Monday Night Football. I went to the game at Bank of America Stadium, so that was really, really fun. That was my first official NFL game. That wasn't preseason, or I think I saw a game the Panthers played in Clemson Stadium. I don't know if it was preseason or not, but I was a really little kid anyways. But so there were some parachuters that came down into the game. There was 4 guys that jumped and landed in the stadium. That was really awesome. It was kind of cold that night. The game was intense. In an NFL game, you can't really miss too much. So I had to really time my bathroom breaks and, breaks to go get a drink or whatever. So that was pretty interesting. I feel like this went by quicker than some of the other live sporting events I went to. It felt like it went by in a flash. I like seeing all the different Panthers jerseys, and, even the Saints fans had their jerseys rocking out there. It was pretty fun to see. I love some jerseys. And so it was a collection of people wearing jerseys and things for me to look at and be like, oh, that's cool. So that part was fun. But the actual game on the field from the Panthers wasn't too great. Bryce was 22 for 33 with 153 yards and 1 touchdown. He was sacked 4 times for a loss of 14 yards. He also lost a fumble. Thielen was their leading receiver with 54 yards. He actually was cooking early and then had nothing later on in the game. Chuba Hubbard was the second leading receiver with 34 yards. Then Mingo with 26 and Hurst with 20. So, those numbers aren't going to get it done. Miles Sanders rushed 14 times for 43 yards, and he was our leading rusher. Just really, really tough there. Really no steady progress there. We had to watch Shaq get carted off, and I believe he's gone the rest of the season. Frankie Louvu played great. It was fun seeing him in person. That was nice to see. He had 9 tackles. And then Derek Brown played well again, and he apparently tried to fight Michael Thomas after the game. So, if anything, I'm becoming a big Derek Brown fan. That was fun to see. He's got that dog in him, Mr. 95. So, I don't know. Sad about the Brian Burns thing. Derek Brown maybe is gonna get some fan attention from the Dep Lewis Show. Now maybe he's our new guy, since maybe he's gonna be sticking around. And then Von Bell had a pick this game. So for today, The Panthers are playing Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. It's around 4 o'clock today, 4:05 Eastern time on Sunday, so 9:24. The Panthers are going to start Andy Dalton, so the Red Rocket is going to start probably for a couple weeks while Bryce works on his ankle or, just gets ready. I don't know. I feel like the Bryce thing is a little bit ankle and a little bit they want to give him some time to sit back and look at things and reevaluate. So I just don't think that's great. I think you would want your rookie to come in. Obviously, I got to quit saying that. Rookie's going to have, some bumps and bruises, but I don't know if they've seen enough to feel confident in putting him out there. I don't know if they have enough around him to feel confident in putting him out there, and it's just a really, really bad spot to be in. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be too fun of a season for the Panthers from this early start, but that seeming a little bit pessimistic, but I tend to go on the positive on the Panthers, so I'm trying to hit myself with a dash of realism. So hopefully they can have a scrappy game today against Seattle. Hopefully Dalton can run the offense, maybe throw the ball down the field some. I think they might as well take some shots, take some chances. Everybody is just saying they should do that, and that's the obvious, but they really need to mix it in there. They need to mix it up. There's no point in playing some vanilla offense or playing something static or basic. You need to try something new because your stuff's not working in any way. And we have a veteran quarterback, so that should allow us to try a little bit more things. Dalton's been playing since 2011, so he's had some years of experience at least. So let him cook a little bit is what I'm going to say. And so we're going to check out that game today, and then next week is a home game in Charlotte versus the Vikings. So going to keep up with the Panthers. Sorry to Brian Burns, and I don't know if you should get paid by the Panthers anymore. I think you should get paid by somebody, and just want to mark that here on the show today. Dep Lewis Show episode 50, sad about Brian Burns. I don't know if the Panthers are in the position to pay him, so we'll see. But the official team of the Dep Lewis Show and the official sport of the Dep Lewis Show, MLB, and the Atlanta Braves. So let's talk about them, what's happened in the last week of the Atlanta Braves. So the Atlanta Braves are already going to the playoffs, already getting the first round bye, just waiting on our opponent. So a little bit of this stuff has been just trying to get to the end of the season, trying not to get hurt, trying to stay on your mark, trying to stay loose, trying to stay dialed in, but also maybe just putting your foot off the gas, pulling your foot off the gas a little bit. So last week, the Sunday result, they lost 16-2 against the Marlins. Oh, that was probably a precursor to make that 16-2 look better, but a 16-2 is not good either way. I turned this game on, and Charlie Morton was already down 5-0. And yeah, the Braves may have taken their foot off the gas a little bit, and that's okay. So the Braves lost to the Phillies Monday 7-1. They won Tuesday 9-3 and lost Wednesday 6-5. Braves beat the Nats Thursday 10-3 and won 9-6 Friday night. So that night, Ronnie also hit his 40th bomb of the year, and that is amazing. He's the MVP, or he should be the MVP, and he's the MVP in my heart. Favorite player ever. Ronald Acuna Jr. with all the bombs, all the steals, all the outfields, all the base running, all the locker room stuff. Just the best there is. So the Braves were off yesterday. The game was postponed to today because of weather. So for today, there's a doubleheader if you're listening in real time. Sunday, September 24th, the Braves are playing at 1:30 against the Nats, and then at 6:35. So today I can watch 2 Braves games, and I can watch the Panthers. So it's setting up to be a great sports Sunday over here for the Dep Lewis Show, and hopefully you get to enjoy some as well. So next week is the final week of the MLB season, which is sad and bittersweet, but ready for the postseason. So next week, the Braves are off tomorrow, and then they're at the Cubs on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then they're at home versus the Nats Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to end the season. So pretty sad day. Going to be the end of the season. Going to have the postseason coming up, and then there will be the long, cold winter without the baseball. But very, very cool. This is getting to the best part of the year for baseball, being real, and I can't wait for it. So also want to give the Texas Rangers some positive vibes out there to get into the playoffs. They beat the Mariners last night. They have a lot of games this last week against the Mariners, try to win their division, and I hope they can do so. I have a friend of the show and friend in real life, lives in Texas. That's who I went to visit and saw the Braves play out there. So I'm rocking my Rangers hat. I can rep them for the AL, and that's what I'm doing this week, giving the Rangers all the positive vibes to get into the playoffs. So our friendly group chat trash talk can continue. So that is the plan. So go Rangers. I'm going to be watching their games a little more closely some of this last week than the Braves, since the Braves need to be just taking a little bit of a chill pill. So go Rangers as well. So that's going to wrap up the miscellaneous talk section. We talked about the Panthers, talked about the Braves, and we talked about being a halfway fan for the Rangers this week too. So love the sports, and I'll be back next week definitely to tell you about some more sports. So this is going to wrap up the show for this week. another great episode of the Dep Lewis Show. Hopefully you enjoyed all the video game talk, all my video game perspectives of what I've been playing, and then all my news and releases and things I want to bring to you in the midsection. Hopefully you found some good information there, and then hopefully you had some fun sports talk that you can relate to or think about, even if you're not a sports fan. So just thank you as always for listening to this show. I just want to promote myself a little more like I do at the beginning, just to help this show out. So please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, tell a friend. Any of those things you can do anytime are just really helpful. Even if it's just a quick tap or just a thumbs up or something on there, just getting the engagement is helping, build this Dep Lewis Show up. Email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. So go check that out. Clips are on YouTube and TikTok. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is a great place to follow. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the greatest place to follow. That's where I'd like to funnel people to the most. And there is $1 a month for the ground floor tier on Patreon.com/DepLewisShow. This is just a general support tier for the show. You also get ad-free versions of any video posted on there, so that's a nice perk of subscribing to the Patreon. And then this is for the first 100 subscribers only, and the price will never change, so that you'll have access to all Dep Lewis Show Patreon content always. This is an investment for your entertainment future. Hopefully the goal is once I can hit those 100 subscribers, then I'm going to bump the price up for the next tier of people for the general content, and maybe I'll have some extra content each week or once a month or something. That's kind of my plan. Once I can hit that 100 mark, then I'm going to have some type of exclusive content to put on the Patreon for those first 100 people, and then for the tier of people that are going to pay the regular price for subscribing. So that is the plan here for the Dep Lewis Show. I just want to get to that 100 mark first, and then we can start playing around a little bit more on there. That's the plan. So thank you for listening to this show as always. You're the best listener out there in the world. I hope you have a great week. Hope you play a lot of games. Hope you make a lot of money. Hope you have a lot of fun. Hope you have some time off work. And I just hope all the best things happen to you out there. And please come back next week for another episode. Thank you for listening to episode 50. I'll be back for another Dep Lewis Show next week for episode 51 next week. See ya.